On a quiet, wind-brushed night in the modern African town of Nendalero, where streetlights flickered like tired fireflies and the distant hum of motorcycles echoed between narrow concrete streets, an unexpected presence stepped silently into the heart of the community. An old stranger dressed in a clean, modern charcoal coat, polished black shoes, and a simple leather bag slung across his shoulder, his calm, knowing eyes glowing beneath the moonlight. People barely noticed him at first, because in Andalero, everyone was too busy fighting their private battle, students rushing to finish assignments, mothers closing their small shops, men arguing over football matches in dim cafes. Yet something unusual swept through the air that night. A quiet energy that made even the restless dogs pause and stare. As he walked past the modern houses with their bright-colored walls and satellite dishes, he carried an unsettling stillness, like someone who had seen centuries pass. He paused near the town square, where a group of young men in stylish jeans and fitted jackets laughed loudly, showing off their new sneakers. But when the old stranger approached, his shadow stretching long across the pavement, their laughter slowly faded. Not out of fear, but curiosity. Something about him felt ancient, yet not old, familiar, yet unknown. He settled on a wooden bench under a streetlight, placing his leather bag beside him, and with a voice calm as midnight rain, he spoke. A nation does not fall in a single day. It falls in its silence. No one knew why he said that. No one had asked. But the words traveled through the air like a quiet warning. The first to approach him was a shy young woman in a modern mustard dress and braided hairstyle, carrying her laptop bag after closing her evening shift at the Community Innovation Hub. She felt an unexplainable pull toward him, as though he held something she had been missing. "Sir, are you lost?" she asked gently. The old stranger smiled, faintly. "Child, those who listen are never lost." His tone was warm, steady, and impossibly clear, as if speaking directly into her thoughts. Aja felt goosebumps rise on her arms. She sat beside him, unsure why. Cameras in the cafe across the street captured fragments of their silhouettes, her bright eyes glowing with curiosity, his posture calm and firm like two timelines touching each other. Moments later, 17-year-old Kofi, wearing a denim jacket and wireless headphones around his neck, joined them after noticing Usha's sudden stillness. "Who's this guy?" "It's a motivational speaker," he joked lightly. The old man turned his head slowly toward him. "You carry noise on your shoulders, young one." "But noise is not knowledge." Kofi froze, surprised. He had never told anyone that he struggled silently with anxiety, drowning in distractions to avoid confronting his fears. How did this old man know? Before he could speak, the old stranger raised his hand, signaling silence, not arrogance, but wisdom. "Tonight," he said, "and Dalero will hear what it has forgotten." A faint breeze swept the square, rustling the palm trees and the modern billboards promoting tech events and clothing brands. One by one, more people began gathering, shopkeepers locking their doors, taxi drivers finishing their last trip, a group of university students still in their stylish campus outfits drawn by something they couldn't explain. Even the cafe owner stepped outside, wiping his apron with shaking hands, whispering, "Who is he?" The old stranger stood slowly, and even the street light above him brightened slightly, like a spotlight recognizing its subject. His voice carried effortlessly through the night. "Your nation," he said, "was not built by those who were loud, but by those who were brave enough to speak when it mattered." Cameras from passers-by began recording him. His figure, tall and steady, created a cinematic composition, moonlight behind him, faces glowing before him, the sound of the wind weaving through his words. He pointed toward the people. A community dies when its people stop correcting wrongs, when they see dishonesty and remain silent, when they witness suffering but look away. A hush fell over the crowd. Asha swallowed. Kofi shifted nervously. A mother held her child closer. The old stranger continued, "You complain about leaders. Yet you raise children who fear truth. You desire change, but avoid responsibility. A nation is not destroyed by wicked people. No. It is destroyed by good people who choose silence. A sharp emotional tension spread across the square, like everyone suddenly realizing their reflection had been exposed under a harsh light. The stranger walked slowly among them, his modern coat swaying lightly, his steps deliberate. "You have forgotten the proverb of your ancestors," he said. "Tree does not stand because it is tall, stands because its roots do not lie." The silence became heavier, more intimate. People felt as though he wasn't speaking about a nation, he was speaking about them, their habits, their fears, their choices. He stopped in the center of the crowd. "Your children copy your silence," he whispered. "And a silent generation is a broken generation." Thunder rumbled faintly, even though the sky was clear. The air felt charged, as though history itself had paused to listen. Tears formed in Usha's eyes. Kofi removed his headphones. A father buried his face in his hands. The old stranger softened his voice. "Tonight, I give you a lesson. One that will not leave you. One that will shape what you become." He raised his hand toward the horizon where the town's lights shimmered. "A nation rises only when its people do what is right, even when no one is watching." And just like that, before anyone could react or ask his name, the old stranger stepped back, calm, steady, and something unbelievable began to happen. The moment the old stranger stepped back, the night air in Delarue seemed to shift, carrying an invisible weight that made the hairs on the villagers' arms rise, and the streetlights flicker faintly, as if acknowledging his presence. And people gasped softly, as if sensing a truth they could not yet name, while Usha's heart raced, compelled to follow him. Her braided hair plastered by the evening drizzle, and Kofi, driven by equal curiosity and fear, fell in step beside her, followed by a small cluster of mothers, fathers, and students who had been captivated by the old man's sudden appearance and the haunting words he had spoken moments ago. The crowd moved silently behind him through narrow streets glowing with amber light from houses and small shops. The smell of roasting maize drifting faintly, motorcycles humming past slowly, riders glancing with confusion at the unusual procession, while the stranger walked steadily until he reached the central intersection of the town, beneath the towering digital billboard displaying advertisements in bright, modern colors for fashion, banks, and political campaigns. And he stopped, resting a hand lightly on the metal pole, as if anchoring the attention of every soul present. And with a deep, calm voice, he said, "This is the crossroads of your lives, the place where truth must confront convenience," his words carrying effortlessly through the hushed crowd, echoing off walls, and for the first time, people felt the weight of their own decisions reflected back at them, their past choices, the moments they had ignored injustice, avoided responsibility, or looked the other way, flashing in their minds like shadows in the stormlight. The stranger lifted his hand, and the billboard shifted magically, dissolving the ads into a glowing white screen, which began showing scenes from Nadiro, not in the present, but the past, highlighting forgotten sacrifices, silent acts of courage, and moments of integrity, faces of mothers feeding orphans despite their own hunger, teachers spending personal money on books, mechanics repairing cars for widows without expecting payment, and teenage boys standing up against bullies, every unsung hero now illuminated for the crowd to witness. And people gasped, some crying softly, some hiding their faces in shame as the weight of memory struck, while the stranger's voice continued over the display, calm but powerful. "You see what your town has been, and now you see what it has ignored." And the screen shifted again, revealing the present in stark contrast. Corruption, laziness, quiet cruelty, dishonesty, and even moments of hypocrisy from the very crowd watching, reflecting their own silent failures. And a man in a blue jacket gasped as his own actions appeared. Shah's eyes widened as she saw moments when she had avoided her sister's struggles, Kofi's private cruelty flashing for all to witness, while the old stranger looked gently at them, saying, "Truth is not gentle. Truth is fire." and fire purifies the soul. As the air thickened with tension, every heartbeat magnified in the silence, and the villagers felt the presence of history pressing against their chests. Asha stepped forward, tears running freely, voice quivering. "Why are you showing us this?" And he looked at her, eyes softening, because a nation does not need perfect people. It needs honest people brave enough to face themselves, and the crowd absorbed the weight of his words, realizing that change begins not with leaders, but with every individual's courage to act, to speak, and to confront truth. Then, in a cinematic mid-story, CTA seamlessly blended, a voice-over whispered for anyone witnessing. Pause, reflect. What are you ignoring in your life that requires courage? Your story changes the moment you face your truth. The stranger's gaze swept across the street, taking in each face as if marking them for the future, and he continued, "The lesson is not what I have shown. It is what you choose after seeing it. One honest person can change a family. One family can change a community. And one community can change a nation." And he stepped closer to Asha, who felt the weight of destiny pressing on her shoulders, and she asked softly, "Sir, how do we start?" His response was simple, yet profound. By speaking, by standing, by correcting. By being the voice you once wished someone had been for you. And a distant bell tolled at 1 a.m. punctuating the moment, while the stranger glanced toward the horizon and said quietly, "My time here is done," prompting Kofi to shout, "You can't leave. We still need you." But the old man smiled warmly, a mix of joy and sorrow in his eyes, and replied, "No, young one, you never needed me. You only needed reminding." And then, almost impossibly, a golden light enveloped him. Swirling gently like sunrise breaking through clouds, soft winds circling the crowd, and the world seemed to hold its breath. And in the next instant, he vanished completely, leaving no trace, no footprints, no sound. Only the gentle whisper of the breeze rustling through the palm trees, and a collective gasp echoed through the intersection. Mothers clutching their children, fathers stunned, Kofi kneeling in disbelief, Asha frozen, staring at the empty space, realizing the impossible had happened. Yet feeling a profound shift in the energy of the town, as though the invisible hands of history had stirred awake the hearts of its people. Slowly, she lowered her eyes and whispered to the crowd, "If he came to teach us, then we must live the lesson." And Kofi stood beside her, voice firm, no more silence, and one by one, villagers nodded, hearts aligned, spirits lifting in a shared promise to act, to speak, to change, understanding that that night, a nation had not yet transformed, but its people had awakened to the power of truth, courage, and responsibility. And under the quiet stars above Nadelero, the wind seemed to carry a message, soft but enduring. Change begins when you stop hiding from yourself and choose to rise. And the camera pans upward, capturing the town bathed in subtle moonlight. Every street, every house, every person connected by the invisible thread of awakening. The faint hum of hope growing stronger. The distant echo of the old stranger's words lingering in every heart, as if promising that this awakening was only the first chapter of a story that would one day ripple far beyond Deliro, leaving a legacy of bravery, honesty, and unity, a story that the villagers would carry forward. Remembering the night, a forgotten stranger appeared and left behind a lesson that would change them forever.